Hello and welcome. Thank you for being a part of Connect.Tech this year and for joining me in this session. I'm really excited today to talk about some of the lessons I've learned with refactoring. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So where are we going today? First, we're going to look at what refactoring is and specifically provide some qualifications on the kind of refactoring I'm discussing today. Then I want to share a story from my workplace where we've gone through a significant refactor over the past year or so, and it is still continuing. I want to share some insights and some highlights from that story. And then we're going to use that story as an archetype, and we're going to delve into the 5 elements of story from a literature perspective, and we're going to talk about how each of those 5 elements has different lessons to teach us about refactoring projects. Before I get started, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Gesualdo. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a full-stack JavaScript engineer, and I love doing things just like this, teaching and equipping others in technology. I've been involved with speaking and mentorship and teaching in those regards. You can find me anywhere online at Gesualdo, on Twitter, on GitHub, raygesualdo.com. Please reach out. I'd love to connect with you. I'd also have to say thank you to SalesLoft, for my employer, for letting me do things just like this and being so supportive of me being out in the community. There I work as a software architect embedded on the front-end enablement team. So I am living and breathing front-end applications and front-end architectures all day long. SalesLoft has been a wonderful place for me to learn and to grow. We've been voted the #1 place to work in Atlanta twice. We also have been the sales engagement industry leader with G2 Crowd for the entire 9 quarters that's even been a segment. So it's a great place to work. We're also actively hiring. So if what I share with you today is of interest to you, please reach out. I'd love to connect with you on that as well. So let's talk about refactoring. Now, this little guy probably isn't doing refactoring. It looks like he's building from scratch. But today we're going to be talking about refactoring. And when I say refactoring, I'm not talking about the kinds of projects where you take a single class or you take a small section of the code or a module or a function or whatever it may be and kind of clean it up. We're not even talking about maybe slightly larger projects that 1 to 2 developers can do in a few weeks. When I'm talking about refactoring, I'm talking about large-scale refactors where you're having to swap out significant portions or perhaps all of your code base from one framework, language, paradigm, whatever it may be, to another. Now, we're not going to focus on the what's, the whys, and the hows of refactoring. There has been so much tomes of knowledge that have been written around that. What we're going to focus on are some high-level lessons that we can learn when handling these kinds of projects, not so much from a technological perspective, but more from a project perspective. So I do want to share SalesLoft's story, like I said, and we're going to use this as an archetype. So SalesLoft story, we've been working on a refactor project for, well, the better part of a year, and it's still ongoing, and we still have a ways to go. And what we've been doing is, let me give you a little bit of context about SalesLoft for a moment. For those of you that may not know, SalesLoft is a business-critical revenue-generating platform. And what I mean by that is our customers depend on us every day in order for them to make money for their business, in order for them to be successful. Tens of thousands of people use us every day. And so, especially in this season of COVID, everyone is looking for partners on whom they can rely to grow their business. And SalesLoft is proud to be that kind of a partner with our customers. We take a lot of pride in that. We work very hard to be that for our customers. But with that comes significant responsibility. We need to ensure that our customers always have the platform available to them in a working state. So part of the goals, or part of the one of the things we have to take into account with this is that we can't cause significant regressions. We have to make sure that our customers are able to use the platform even as we are refactoring it really right out from underneath them. We're also in a highly competitive market space. We can't stop building new features or stop maintaining what we have, focus on this refactor project, and 6, 9, 12 months later kind of pop back up and be like, oh, there we go, it's done, and we can go ahead and go back to building features. We have to continually be competitive, delivering value to our customers, even amidst this refactoring project. Now, a little nuts and bolts, our code base is over 6 years old, And for some businesses, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, that's not that old at all. For a hypergrowth startup like SalesLoft has been, that is a very old code base, and we have a lot of legacy code. We have a lot of code that you can even get blamed today and go back 6 years or longer, right? So we have a lot of code that was written 6 years ago that is still there, some that was written 4 years ago and is still there, or what have you. And our code, specifically the project that we were focused on, was refactoring, or is refactoring our primary web application, which was written in Angular.js. Almost all the business logic, the presentation layer, everything was encapsulated in Angular.js. What we're looking to do is move off of Angular, reduce our dependencies on any specific framework, and move our platform to being a combination of vanilla JavaScript and React for the presentational layer. So that was the project that we set out to work on. Now, as we've gone through it, we've learned quite a few things. And that is part of the story that I want to share with you today. So we're going to use this as an archetype. As I was thinking through SalesLoft's story, what I realized is the 5 elements of story, which we can take from like a high school literature class, those 5 elements have things to teach us about refactoring today. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and break down some of these lessons learned refactoring. We're going to talk about setting, theme, plot, character, and conflict. So let's start with setting. Setting is the world in which your story takes place. It is everything that surrounds the story, everything taking place around the story. So when we're thinking about setting, there's 3 different lessons we can learn. The first is that we need to understand our context. Now, this is very important. The project that we're working on has developed over time. It has different business drivers that have influenced it. There are different technological drivers that have influenced it. You've had different stakeholders having different levels of say. Sometimes things that have had to be sacrificed on the altar of time constraints. All of this context around what has been built. It is important for us, as we're stepping into these refactoring projects, to understand that context. Get a good feeling for why did these things happen? Not just what happened, but why they happened. Once we have that under our belt, now we're able to more effectively make decisions on what can be changed and how it can be changed if we know the why. So understanding context is key. Our application, our refactoring story exists in a world with history. We need to understand that history so we can move forward effectively. The second lesson from setting is respect what got you here. And I think this one's important. Code is so easy for us to become frustrated with, especially code that we didn't write, or code that is older, or code that isn't following the latest, greatest paradigms, or isn't written in the framework that we prefer. But if you're to a point where you're able to undertake one of these large refactoring projects, that means the code that's been written has been successful enough to get you to the point where you can invest time, money, and resources into refactoring it. It's gotten you somewhere. So respect that. We don't have to like the code that's there, but I think it is important to understand that code has gotten us to where we are. And thirdly, know your domain. This is separate from understanding context. Understanding context is more about the history of the code base. Knowing your domain is having a good survey knowledge of everything the code base does. Now, depending on the size of your code base and your project and your product, it may not be feasible for one person to have complete domain knowledge over the entire thing. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is having a good survey knowledge of the different places and parts of your application that are going to be refactored. That may mean early on taking a little extra time to delve into some of those corners of the application that maybe people aren't as familiar with anymore, or perhaps the person or people that wrote them have since left, and so some of that tribal knowledge has gone. Take time up front to know your domain. Have a good working knowledge of what is going to be refactored. So setting. The world in which your project takes place, your refactoring project takes place. Understand context. Get a good gauge of that history. Know why things happened. Respect what got you here. Realize that the code, no matter how frustrating it may be or how much effort you're going to have to put into changing it out, you need to respect the fact that it has brought you to the point where you can take the time and the resources to remove it. And lastly, know your domain. have a good survey knowledge of everything that's going to be refactored. So that's the world in which this refactoring project takes place. Let's go ahead and talk about theme. And theme is that thread throughout the entire project that is going to help provide direction and help provide focus and clarity. So 2 thoughts here. First, define your strategy. Another way to think about this is define your destination. So I'm going to liken this to going on vacation. So for me, when my wife and I are planning a vacation, we might say, oh, we think we're going to go here and we think it's going to be at this time. And that's all well and good. Personally, I get excited once we've booked wherever it is that we're going to be staying, because at that point we're locked in. What was once abstract is now concrete. On these dates, we are going to this place. And to me, that's very exciting. Similarly, I don't like to say, or it doesn't really excite me to say, for vacation, I'm leaving Atlanta. That doesn't really provide me any direction. That doesn't give me anything to be excited about. That doesn't provide any clarity. Now, for some of you, that may seem like a great vacation, just getting out of whatever town you're currently living in. For me, I like to have a destination in mind. That's what define your strategy is all about. Defining your strategy sets the destination. It provides guardrails for all of your future decision making. It provides clarity for everyone that's going to be involved in the project, whether it be developers working on it, stakeholders that need to know how the process is going, managers, everyone involved. Having those destinations or that strategy in place is going to provide clarity. And lastly, it provides motivation. As a refactor project continues, especially if it's going to take multiple months, maybe even multiple years, it's hard to kind of keep up that motivation. If there's no destination in sight, if there's no strategy for how you're going to get to your final product, it's going to be difficult to maintain morale and motivation as you're going forward. So defining your strategy is incredibly important, and what you'll find in some of our later lessons is that they all call back to the strategy that you've already created. So spend significant time here thinking through where you want to go, how you want your project to look when it's complete. Not necessarily the goals, but at a high level, here's where we want to be. Here's what we want to have accomplished. And then as you're doing that, embrace rethinking. And when I mean rethinking, what I mean is what has been built up to this point, obviously you're swapping it out for something else. It may be that you're swapping it out for just new code, but similar paradigms. It may be new paradigms you're introducing, new libraries or frameworks. It depends very much on your project. But embrace rethinking in that as you're thinking through, how do we make that next step? How do we define our strategy moving forward? How do we look forward 2, 3, 5 years into the future and know that we're setting a right destination for where we want this project to be? Be ready to rethink assumptions, challenge assumptions, rethink approaches. Conversely, be ready to rein yourself back in. I've seen many times, I've been guilty of this before, and I've seen it with others as well, where when you start thinking through a refactoring project, you get a little too ambitious and you want to add too many new things to the process. Maybe some new technology hotness over here or some new library over there. In embracing rethinking, be sure to make sure that you're not overstretching yourself, not overstretching the people that are going to be working on this project. So embracing rethinking is both pushing yourself a little bit and making sure that you're reining yourself back in, having a good balance. It's also a cyclical motion. This rethinking is going to happen multiple times throughout the project. We'll talk about a lesson later on that calls back to this lesson. So theme, incredibly important. This is going to drive your project over time. Define your strategy. Know where you're going, and allow that to provide clarity for your decision making and motivation for the people that are involved. And then embrace rethinking. Be ready to challenge assumptions and rein yourself back in as you're going through this process. So we've talked about setting, we've talked about theme. Let's go ahead and talk about plot. So plot is what actually happens, right? So setting is the world in which your project happens. Theme is that thread that's going to help provide clarity and provide direction. Plot is what are we going to do? 3 thoughts here. The first lesson, set goals. This is one of the reasons why having a well-defined strategy is so vitally important. Without a well-defined strategy, it's hard to set well-defined goals. And you're going to need those goals over time so that you know you're heading in the right direction. So if your strategy is your location, Your goals you can think of as waypoints or checkpoints to make sure that you're heading in the right direction, to make sure that you are maintaining forward progress and that you're moving toward your eventual location, your eventual destination. So set goals. Again, there's lots that has been already written about how to set goals, and you'll have to look at your project, look at your organization, look at your team makeup to understand exactly how goals should be set, but set them, write them down, document them, and keep moving forward. So once you have your goals set, now it gives you the opportunity to assess resources and bandwidth. So understand the time that you have available, understand the people that are going to be working on your project and the time that they have available. Be aware of the different stakeholders, when they're going to be able to provide feedback, when they're going to be able to interact with planning sessions or things of that nature. Understand when subject matter experts may or may not be available when you need to delve deep into different aspects of your project. So assess these resources up front. Once you have your goals, you can start having a better understanding of what resources you need and how much bandwidth you need from people over time. And I'm not suggesting following a waterfall method versus and a more agile strategy. I'm not saying that at all. This is completely orthogonal to that sort of a discussion. At the beginning, start to have a good understanding of the resources available and the bandwidth that's there, regardless of how you're going to accomplish that. And then thirdly, measure. And this is why setting goals are so important. You don't know if you're really moving toward your destination if you're not measuring it. And when I say measure, I'm not necessarily talking about performance metrics, right? In the front-end world, we're very used to having performance metrics for our applications, for our sites, time to first byte, time to first interactive, things like that, time to first paint. Performance metrics may be one of the things that you measure. At SalesLoft, one of the things that we are measuring is some web performance metrics for our refactoring project. We want things to improve over time. But we have lots of other metrics that we're measuring as well that have nothing to do with performance of the application. They have everything to do with the success and the health of the project itself. So set your goals, know how you're going to get to your destination via your goals, and then make sure that you set up metrics that measure against those goals well. By doing that, you'll have, again, more feedback as you go, iterative feedback as you go, to know that you're heading in the right direction. So plot the things that happen in your refactoring story. First, set goals. That way you know that you're moving toward your destination. Second, assess resources and bandwidth available. Know who can help, know when they can help, know which people or which teams are going to be working on this project and how much time they'll be able to allocate so that you're able to accurately set expectations for when those goals will be hit. And then thirdly, measure. Make sure that the goals that you've set have metrics around them so that you can see over time that you're moving toward those goals. Ultimately, we want to be moving toward our destination. In that process, we want to be moving toward our goals. Measuring allows us to do that. So we talked about setting, we talked about theme, we talked about plot. Next, we're going to talk about characters. And by characters, what I'm talking about here are the people that are going to be working in your refactoring project. This one is vitally important, and I want to spend a little extra time walking through the 3 lessons that we learn from the idea of characters. Technological change is hard, but it's doable. We can provide strategies, we can lay out game plans, we can do it. Typically just takes time. Change management with people is often much more difficult. And what we want to do in a large refactoring project is make sure that everyone is set up for success, no matter if they're a stakeholder, a manager, a developer. Everyone should have equal standing on being on the same page, knowing what's going on, knowing how decisions are made, and being able to work in the project effectively. So we have 3 lessons from characters as well. The first, document everything. I cannot stress this enough. This is one that, to be honest, I'm still having to learn on a weekly, even daily basis. Every decision that's made, every architectural plan that's developed, every time that something is set, whether it's your goals, your strategy, the metrics that you're measuring against, all of that should be documented. Write it down. Now, I've seen documentation likened to a load balancer. So if we think about a load balancer for a second, a load balancer actually slows down individual network requests because there's one more hop that the request has to make before it goes to the server and then back to the client. But a load balancer allows us to serve significantly larger numbers of people, because behind a load balancer, we can put n number of servers, again, depending on your architecture and what have you. So because we can put multiple servers behind our load balancer, that means our load balancer, or in essence, our application, can serve many more people than it used to. Documentation is the same way. It slows us down in the beginning. It takes time to write everything down. It takes even more time to write things down well in a way that can be well understood by others. It is entirely worth the effort, because once you have things documented, that now provides a record in perpetuity for anyone to refer back to, a developer, a manager, a stakeholder, anyone, and it helps provide a lot of clarity and keep everyone on the same page. Now, once things are documented, over-communicate them. There's a saying that for anything that's important, you need to say it 10 times in 10 different ways. However many times you say it is really up to you, but make sure you're not saying it just once. Make sure that there are multiple avenues for communicating to people what's changing, what's happening, what's going on. Again, it should refer back many times to what's been documented. If you're sending out communication, that communication could be captured in a document somewhere and then sent out, as well as linked to and able to be referenced later. Over-communicate what's going on. Very few people will ever be upset with you for over-communicating during a project like this. Everyone wants to be on the same page. Everyone wants to be empowered to act and work well in the project. And then lastly, make sure you're making the right thing the easy thing. For a big refactoring project like this, it's easy to, especially if you're the one planning it, you've got so much in your head of how this can go, but the people that are working on the project with you, around you, however it may be, we need to make the right thing the easy thing for them. So for this one, think very, very specifically about the people that are going to be working on your project. Think about their day, how they're going to be going about interacting with this project. They need to be set up for success. So part of that is documenting and over-communicating, but it doesn't stop there. One great way that we can make the right thing the easy thing is through developer tooling, making it so that people can interact with this new code base or this new method of programming in a way that is perhaps semi-automated or provides different ways to walk them through the process. Developer tooling can be great with that, things like templating, CLI tools, maybe even something built into your IDE. All of those help make the right thing the easy thing. This can also speak to perhaps the paradigms or the libraries that you're choosing. How easy are they for your developers to work with and to develop with? Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have different parts of our application that have complexity to them. We will, and that's just a part of the process. When we do have those, do we have documentation? Do we have support materials? Do we have some sort of tooling that helps make sure that the developer is set up for success using those? So we want to make the right thing the easy thing. So characters, thinking about the people that are going to be working on this project, vitally important to a refactoring project's long-term health. Making sure that everything is documented, that all decisions, architectural plans, anything as you go, it's documented, held in perpetuity, so then you can over-communicate this to everyone involved. Everyone stays on the same page. Everyone has an opportunity to hear what's going on. And then lastly, we want to make the right thing the easy thing, which documentation and over-communicating helps with that, but it doesn't stop there. We want to think, okay, on a daily basis, how can I empower the people working on this project for success? So lastly, we're going to talk about conflict. And I don't mean conflict in terms of interpersonal conflict. Totally different subject. What I'm talking about is as you're getting into this project, there are going to be things that don't always work out well. Let's talk about those. 2 thoughts. First, expect false starts. When you're working in a large refactoring project, there are going to be some things that don't work well the first time. That's okay. Learn from them and move on. This is where doing things like doing small proof of concepts or small research projects, making sure that something is going to be viable before we start it, is going to come into play. I've heard that described before as making cupcakes before the whole cake, right? We want to do small bits and prove out our assumptions. But even when that happens, we may still hit false starts. We're not going to be able to account for everything that might happen during our project. Stop, breathe, know that those are going to happen. Importantly, learn and move on. Don't make the mistake again. Secondly, done is better than perfect. In a refactoring project like this, it's really tempting to spend a little extra time, or maybe even a lot of extra time, trying to get that code or that part of the application just perfect. I'm here, I've got the time, we're doing this refactor, I know I can just get it perfect if I spend an extra X amount of time. You do that enough times though, and the entire project all of a sudden starts to become jeopardized. We're not meeting our goals, we're not moving toward our destination. Also, there's always something we can do to be improving our code. Code is almost never perfect. So if we get stuck in that mentality of I need this to be the absolute best, we're going to spin our wheels. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting that we throw out code quality, that we throw out standards, that we throw out craftsmanship. Those should all absolutely be there. We should have high quality code. We should be focused on the craftsmanship of our work, and then we should ship. We shouldn't be caught in this spiral of needing everything to be perfect. So again, conflict, expect those false starts. They're going to happen. That's okay. Learn from them and move on. And then done is better than perfect. Make sure we're shipping value to our customers. So those are the five elements of story and the lessons that they teach us about refactoring. Setting, understand the world that your project is going to take place in. That means understanding context, respecting what got you there, and knowing your domain, having a good survey knowledge. With our theme, we need to know our destination, and we need to be able to embrace rethinking as we go. With our plot, we need to set our goals. We need to know the resources and the bandwidth of the people that are going to be working with us. And then we need to measure against those goals so we know we're moving in the right direction in measured steps. And then with character, we want to focus on the people that are going to be working on our project. We want to make sure that we document everything, we over-communicate what's been documented, and then we go the extra mile and make sure we're making the right thing, the easy thing for the people that are going to be working on this project day in and day out. Lastly, we think about conflict, understanding that there are going to be false starts. That's okay. We learn from them and we move on. And that we want to be continuously shipping and providing value to our customers. We don't want to get caught in the trap of making things perfect. So that's everything I have to share. Like I said, SalesLoft is in the middle of this process. We have much more to do. We have much more to learn. And my hope is to be back here at some point and sharing what we've learned once we're fully through this. I'm excited for you to be able to enter into your refactoring projects and for you to experience some of these, and hopefully these will help you throughout the process. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, thank you for being a part of Connect.Tech this year. It's always exciting being a part of this conference. Thank you so much.